Good evening. Welcome back to this second part of this episode of the Glazov Gang, and we are joined by two wise men this evening, Mike Finch and Dwight Schultz. Gentlemen, welcome back to the Glazov Gang.
Thank you, Jamie.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you to be members of the Glazov Gang? Let's forget I answered. Let's forget I asked that question. Gentlemen, let us begin this segment with the David Horowitz Freedom Center's campaign to defend a modern-day hero and truth-teller, Michelle Bachmann. And there's a witch hunt against her by the left, which is no surprise. A leftist group, People for the American Way, have allegedly, apparently, come up with 178,000 signatures on a petition that they gave or are giving to Boehner to have her removed from the House Intelligence Committee because of her grievous sins that I want you guys to get into, or I'm sorry, gentlemen. And the David Horowitz Freedom Center is now coming up with our own petition to defend Michelle Bachmann against this unholy alliance. Michael, why don't you inform our viewers a little bit about our petition and what's happening to Michelle?
Well, it's obviously it's a show of support for Congresswoman Bachmann, who, you're right, is a hero. Think about what's happened, Jamie. 6 members of Congress write letters to the Inspector Generals at State, Homeland Security, Defense, and Justice, maybe one other department. The only thing they did is they said, could you at least consider having some investigative work done on the influence the Muslim Brotherhood has in the American government? And there was a couple names that they mentioned to say we need to at least have our eyes open, check this out. She is put on a stake, burned at the stake, ridiculed. I mean, worse than ridiculed. It's really, it's the politics of personal destruction on overdrive. They have tried to destroy her reputation. They tried to defeat her in Congress. She got reelected, thank goodness. But they are after her. She is, pariah number 1 in Washington, D.C., all because she wanted to do an investigation. A couple weeks ago, an Egyptian magazine prints names of members of the Muslim Brotherhood who are in Washington, D.C., in the administration, including several people that were on the list that Michelle
Mohammed Ali Biari.
Yeah. Actually, and they're boasting about, we've gone from a U.S. government that had been antagonistic towards the Muslim Brotherhood to one now that is openly friendly and actually very supportive of the Muslim Brotherhood. And one of the reasons is because we've been able, they didn't use the word infiltrate, we've been able to, we have Muslim Brotherhood members highly placed in the U.S. government. And still, in spite of that, there's a complete media blackout. She's still ridiculed, beyond ridiculed. We have to send support. Now, I'll give John Boehner that our petition is not attacking John Boehner. Basically, we're showing the support. He's kept her in that position on the Intelligence Committee, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. But we want him to stay strong. We want her to stay in a position where she can have some influence to carry through these investigations. We want to send 250, 500,000 signatures to John Boehner's office saying, thank you, keep doing the principled and right thing.
Before we move on, ladies and gentlemen, frontpagemag.com, frontpagemag.com. Go to our website, and you will see on the right-hand side of our website a petition, Stop the Witch Hunt Against Representative Bachmann. Click on it and sign it, please, and let's defend a heroic modern-day truth-teller. Dwight?
Well, you know that on your program, I talked about this when she asked and mentioned the name of Huma Abedin. There was an implosion. She was attacked by McCain. She was attacked on the floor of the Senate, and then attacked by Boehner. It was clear to me when I saw the letter and I saw the way it was a perfectly legitimate question, considering the history of the United States and the subversion from the Soviet Union into the United States, which is now absolutely, unequivocally real.
Alger Hiss?
Not just Alger Hiss, but
he represents it.
Harry Hopkins, the penetration, and Robert Oppenheimer, the penetration of the communists into the United States is just, you can't deny it.
It's confirmed.
It's confirmed. Now, here you have...
But there's no mea culpa from the left
No.
But I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. But when I heard the denunciation of Michelle Bachmann and the other congressmen for asking a legitimate question, considering what was happening with the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt and around the world, and our caving in to their demands for power and a former ally of ours, I said to myself, well, that's a sign that she really hit a raw nerve. And they didn't They attacked her personally. And you see the ad hominem attacks. I mean, McCain has made some terrible mistakes, particularly with Libya. Boehner, I don't know what caused him to turn on her, but it was clear to me.
It was shameless.
When I read, I went and Andy McCarthy has written extensively about Huma Abedin. Phenomenal material that has come out. This woman is connected to the highest ranks of the Muslim Brotherhood, and she is the chief counselor to the Secretary of State, who we now know can't answer a question about anything. So who is making the decisions?
But here's the thing.
You see?
Look, Huma Abedin, mother Muslim Brotherhood, father Muslim Brotherhood, brother Muslim Brotherhood, worked for an organization as the editor of its magazine for 12 years, the Institute of Muslim Minority Affairs. Muslim Brotherhood. What is wrong with at least getting a security clearance on this individual when the Muslim Brotherhood is announcing from the rooftops that it wants to destroy the United States and the United States Constitution? Explanatory memorandum, the document the FBI grabbed. We already know the Muslim Brotherhood wants to destroy the United States. Why would, and I'm being facetious in asking it, why would the left want to destroy the messenger rather than asking for an investigation?
Well, think about it. You mentioned this earlier, Dwight. Not 20 years ago, not 10 years ago, a couple of weeks ago, Morsi, the head of the Brotherhood, Muslim Brotherhood, refers to saying we have to continue to teach hate. We have to continue to teach Muslim children that Jews are the descendants of monkeys and apes. Right? This is a couple of weeks ago. His prize for that is a huge sale of F-16s. They're going to have more F-16s in the Egyptian Air Force than Israel does in theirs. So you can call Jews monkeys and apes. You can call for the overthrow and the destruction of the United States. Sharia needs to supplant the U.S. Constitution. You get F-16s. You have a courageous congresswoman, and there should have been 400 congressmen writing that letter, not 5.
Well, that's what I want to ask. Wait, I thought she was one of 5, or she was what? Or she was one, and there was another 5.
No, there was like one of 5.
Yeah, there were 6 total. There's 5.
I thought there was 5, but let's say 5 or 6 out of 535.
It's embarrassing.
Gentlemen, what does this mean when we know that the Muslim Brotherhood has penetrated the Washington? And by the way, Frank Gaffney's pamphlet at the David Horowitz Freedom Center, the Muslim Brotherhood in the Obama administration, get it. But
Jamie,
why the low number?
Political correctness. I mean, it doesn't really describe it. Maybe, Dwight, maybe you've got a better take on this. It is political correctness. Nobody wants to be accused of being a racist or an Islamophobe. They're so afraid. Think about the McCarthy era and what that's done to our. It's really taken the knees out from under us and be able to point to someone, because you can't say, just by saying there's communists in the government, there's people out there who would watch the show and said, you guys are McCarthyites and you're witch hunters.
But as Dwight is saying, in terms of history, I mean, American professors in academia are still ridiculing McCarthy. Now, just a second. Yes, some of his tactics were questionable and unfortunate, but it is proven that he underestimated Soviet penetration. Alger Hiss at the right-hand side of Roosevelt during Yalta. It is largely because of that situation that Eastern Europe fell to the Stalinist camp. This is history.
That's right.
Our enemies penetrate our government, and yet the left never looks back and never says sorry.
Oh, they'll still say you're on a witch hunt, and you're creating blacklists, and that's what we're doing. That's what they're going to say, Michelle Bachmann.
And so, Dwight, I'll get to you, but this is what I want to say. They deny the unholy alliance, and yet it's right before our eyes. They are participating.
And they did back then, too. You see, if you go back and you look at what happened and transpired once Truman took over, once they realized that there were communists in the government, you can see... and it's very similar to what happened today. McCarthy was attacked by the military, by everyone in the government, including Republicans, because suddenly anybody who said communism, that you were a communist or this one was a communist, you were somehow a McCarthyist. You were tied to McCarthyism, and which was you're a bully. It's unjustified demagoguery, and you're destroying people's lives. And they used that, and this is something people don't talk about. The military went after him because there were communists in the military, and they didn't want the American people to know about it, because the American people, if they found out a lot of communists were running around in the military, they may lose. But anyway, today, when Barack Obama was running for president, in his campaign, he said at one of his big campaigns, there's a recording of it, and he was the first one to bring up the race card. And he said, they'll say I'm this, and he's got a strange, funny name, and oh yes, and he's black. And then you heard the audience laugh with roar. He uses racism and Islamophobia as a term and a tool of ridicule, that you are somehow unintelligent and base. You're a racist, you're an Islamophobe, you don't know what you're talking, it's just hatred. Mm-hmm. And you heard Hillary Clinton talk about it today. Yeah. You heard her talk. They use it as a tool, it is political correctness, and it's very, very effective, and people are frightened to be called that.
And hey, it's completely saturated the White House and our media. Mike, let me turn to you. Let me ask this. This whole tragic state of affairs, look, Obama pulls the rug from under the feet of Mubarak because there's demonstrators in the streets. Mm-hmm. Oh, Egypt should have democracy. Helps the Muslim Brotherhood take power. Morsi grabs power, cancels out the power of the judiciary, mm-hmm. makes himself an Islamist tyrant, on his way to imposing Sharia, demands or asks the release of the blind sheikh, as you say. You would think, and then demonstrators are in the street feeling betrayed, wanting freedom. You would think that an American president would do the same thing that he did against Mubarak. And what does Obama do? The F-16s are on their way, Morsi. Mike, why are American F-16s being given to an Islamist tyrant who thinks Jews descend from apes and pigs?
Well, Obama's very sympathetic, I think, to the Muslim Brotherhood outlook. I mean, look, when he went to Cairo, Mubarak and the leaders of the government were not in the front row as members of the Muslim Brotherhood. I think he's very sympathetic. He thinks that they speak to the majority of the Egyptian people, that they are the legitimate rulers. Mubarak is a stooge. He's a military dictator who's oppressed the people of Egypt. The Brotherhood is the people of Egypt. And in that, he might be right. If there was an election, the Brotherhood is probably the most... Erdogan is popular in Turkey. The Brotherhood is popular in Egypt. Hamas wins election in Gaza. This is I mean, in that sense, it is democracy. I mean, they are the voice of the people. And he doesn't care. I don't think he cares that they want Sharia law. I'm sure he understands what Sharia law is, but this is what he wants. He wants the Muslim Brotherhood in power. He wants Islamists in power because those are speaking the will of the people.
Is Barack Obama an anti-Semite?
I don't know. His policies, I think, could certainly be construed as anti-Semitic. Is he an I mean, I can't look into his heart and say he's an anti-Semite.
But he's a bullier of Israel.
He's a bullier of Israel. Yeah. He's a sympathizer to the Arab and Muslim cause. Mm-hmm. He does not like Israel. He does not like the Jews in Israel. Mm-hmm. He thinks that they're colonialists transplanted from Europe and put in the land of the Palestinians.
He's also a neo-Marxist. And he hates the United States and capitalism, and so does the Muslim Brotherhood and all of the radical Islamists. And as Andy McCarthy said in his book, Grand Jihad, he's a Qadari, says, "Oh, we're really sympathetic to communism. If only there was a God there, but there's not. But we're really sympathetic, and we like the communist way of doing things, and we hate the capitalist pig." So you have the typical alliance, and there is no question in my mind, Barack Obama is trying to take the United States down 5 pegs on the world scale.
And one of the ways he's doing it is by letting the Muslim Brotherhood into the administration,
exactly.
Which is why Michelle Bachmann is a truth teller.
That's
Help stop the witch hunt against Representative Bachmann. Go to frontpagemag.com and sign our petition to defend this heroic truth teller and freedom fighter in our time. We have a few minutes left. Gentlemen, of this episode of the Glazov Gang, were both of you inspired, and did both of you get a fuzzy feeling during the inauguration? Mike?
I have to be honest, I was pretty much on news blackout for the entire day. I didn't watch any
Purposefully?
news. Purposely. I mean, I've watched the follow-up later in the commentary. It was partisan. He's going after, he's trying to destroy the Republican Party. He laid out the liberal, progressive, leftist agenda. He made no secret about what his agenda is going to be in the second term. He's going to go after guns. He's going to shut down oil and gas. He's going to further socialize, nationalize the country. There's no surprise. I mean, anyone who would have been surprised can't be surprised anymore.
Okay, just a second. And what's the bad news? Mike, very briefly, what does it mean that he's going after the guns?
Well, there's going to be, the executive orders are just the first step. I believe he wants confiscation of guns. So that's going to be very difficult when you have hundreds of millions of guns in this country. But
is that going to be a mistake? Is that overreaching with the American people?
I don't, Obamacare didn't overreach. They didn't like it, but he got reelected. So, I don't. The American people are going to like their guns being taken away? No. But if it happens slowly, first you start with ammo, you start with this gun, you start with that gun. Background, it's a slippery slope, and before you know it, we're handcuffed. We don't have, we either don't have our guns or we can't get access to guns. Look, he thinks right now he's walking on water. He thinks he can get away with anything. Yes. And who's to say that he can't?
Maybe Dwight Schultz.
No,
Dwight, briefly?
no. Well, all violent revolutions, even if one were to take place here, I'm sure it would follow the same course as others with a small minority of people. It's not great populations. It's small groups with very strong feelings. And certainly I think I heard a news story that Bill Clinton was warning Obama not to do this with people who own guns. I think that's a warning that this is playing with something serious. However, Barack Obama is a provocateur, and I think he would welcome violence.
Interesting.
20 seconds each, and all good things have to come to an end. Michael Finch, by 2016, what will the United States look like after Obama takes a hammer and gives it a lot of hits?
Well, I hate to put faith in the Republicans, but if we can hold on to the House in the midterm elections, it'll limit some of the damage that he can do. The American economy is, I disagree with Mark Stein in the sense we're not going to completely go off the cliff. Free enterprise will somehow keep us struggling, kind of staggering along. I think America can survive this, but the Republicans are going to have to keep the House. At least that'll minimize. And the powers in the states, the Republican governors in some of these states, to have the backbone to say Obamacare is not going to happen here, you're not going to take our guns, that's ultimately the savior of this republic, is state sovereignty and these Republican governors.
Thank you, Mike. It's my responsibility and obligation to say an entire notebook filled of emails from women saying they love your George Clooney look and for you to keep the beard for the next edition of the Glazov Gang. Dwight Schultz, 20 seconds, final words of wisdom.
My final words of wisdom that I don't see, unless we have someone in the opposing party, the Republican Party, or someone like an Andrew Breitbart who comes forward and every single day attacks the words of Barack Obama, I think we're in for a long 4 years.
And if that doesn't happen, unfortunately, it's going to be a sinking ship. We have to fight. Mike Finch, Dwight Schultz, what an honor and a privilege to have you to join the gang. Thank you. We'll see you next week. Good night.